Thank you, sir. So seems like we have a few people in the room. I just wanted to start with a little icebreaker and kind of see with you guys what's some of you guys' pet peeves in the professional workplace that you've grown to really dislike.
Are we putting this in the chat? We're just speaking it out right now, or
Yeah, just speak it out. Today we're just gonna have open chat discussion about some things that we've been, having to go through and just everyday corporate life and things like that.
I don't know if everybody's experienced this, but these famous battle is famous words for to start any kind of fight. As per my last email, right, in a very passively aggressive tone, and there could be that validity to it, but usually it's meant to throw somebody under the bus or kind of landslide somebody. At least that's been my experience.
A good one. That's one. I seen that a lot in the military, and then when I found myself being frustrated, I started to use the same thing, use the same terminology. But as you grow, you realize that there's a easier way to say things and get your point across. So that is definitely
Yeah.
one of the
And
things
even just
that
going
I would
direct to
try.
that, yeah. And even just going direct to that person, like, hey, you know what? Let's clear this up. Let's have a 2 minute powwow can save a lot of headache on 10, 15 emails back and forth and got to talk to this supervisor now and HR is involved because this person's aggressive and it's just can we just talk?
That part. Communication is key. Anyone else
Yeah.
have some workplace pet peeves that they have? What about you, Sean? You have any pet peeves that you have in the workplace? I see that you're on the call.
Hey, Elliot. Yeah, there's so many. I don't want to take up too much of your time. No, but yeah, one of them for sure is the one Brother Jonathan brought up in the chat. That's one for sure. As far as displaying some of your skills and strategies, and not getting you know, the desired result. That's definitely one. The other is simply, what would I call it? I would say lack of opportunity in the workplace too. Lack of opportunity to display some of your talents and skills. Having to wait for those projects to come up to actually chime in. Um, I guess also the natural intimidation that you might face as being a brother in the corporate world. That's definitely something I've faced so much, continue to face it. And I know you guys can resonate with that. Definitely a pet peeve of mine. Yeah, other than those, man, that's kind of where it's at. But, we can just learn how to strategize and move around it, of course, and align well with filtering companies that we consider too. So there's just a lot to it, but that's a couple of mine.
Those are some good ones, Sean. Yeah, I could definitely piggyback off of you as far as being a black man in the workplace. Um, I found when I first got the job that I'm currently working at, um, I found that they had an issue. I felt me as far as me being an active father, and it was kind of like a taken back moment because I took pride in taking my kids to school in the morning. And for my job, it's a hybrid kind of a job. So we pretty much get a schedule of job sites we have to go to for the day. I'll go and do my job inspections, and then once I'm home, I take a few hours to write those reports. But it seemed like every time in the morning, because my daughter, she goes to school, she had to be at school about 8:30, and so we would leave the house at about 8 o'clock, and that was kind of the start of my work day. But once it started to become a routine for me, and it seemed like it became a problem for my workplace. And I'm like, I don't know if it's the fact that I'm an active father in my kid's life, or if the fact that I'm a black active father in my kid's life, like, is it foreign to you? Um, so I mean, I ended up, fighting because, I deserve to, there's other females that work with the company, and just like them, they have the time to take their kids to school and do these things that, I said I should be afforded those same opportunities and the same grace. And so I had to, pretty much step up and, kind of voice it and be like, hey, I'm going to be dropping my daughter off at school. That's just the nature of the beast. I can start my inspections after that. Unless it's a far inspection, then, I understand that, for me, I'll probably let my wife know that, she'll have to drop her off in the morning. But 9 times out of 10, that's something that I take pride in. So I'm going to take that time for not only myself, but for my kids, because that's an important thing that I feel like.
Yeah, 100%, right? It's one of those things that is kind of potentially frowned upon, especially like, oh, isn't your lady supposed to take care of that? Like, that's not a man's role. But like you said, why are we not afforded the opportunity to be active in our, like, why is that the anomaly, right? Or being like the black unicorn, as far as like, oh, you're a black father, you're married, like where'd you come from? Like, did they still make people like you? Like, no, let's make that the norm versus the exception.
Exactly. My point exactly. Let's see, Mickey, you have any words or any kind of pet peeves that you have within the workplace that you might want to express?
Not so much. I think I've just had I've worked in a few different industries from telecom to
You're on mute if you're trying to talk, or we can't
oh,
hear you.
hold on one second.
I heard him okay.
Yeah, it says it's not on mute.
I can hear you now. You're cooking now. Go
All
ahead
right.
and
I said I worked in a few different industries from, and I thought I was hoping it was the industry. And so I've gone from telecom. I've worked in telecom. I've worked big company like Sprint, Cablevision, and then I thought it was the industry. And so then I went to education. Then I went from education to construction. And what I find is, um, what's most productive is just kind of coming in smooth. But in my interviews now, I've learned to stay. Um, a guy gave me some advice to interview the company as opposed to them interviewing you. And you still kind of go through the same things, but as you interview the company, you get a better feel of what type of company it is, but you're more confident about what you bring to the table. I know I'm going to grow your business. I know I'm going to bring it, I know that my track record will show that, but this is what I need from you so we can have some mutual respect in what I need to be successful. And that confidence has always kind of worked on my side because it's like, all right, this guy knows what he wants. And they either thumbs up or thumbs down me. And I think finding the right culture as Black men is what we have to strive towards, and saying what our demands are and sticking to it. And if it's not a good fit, accepting someone else saying, hey man, we got 8 o'clock meetings on every Tuesday and Thursday. You're gonna be able to work that out. You know what I'm saying? And that's their business. And then you figuring it out how it works for you. Um, I've worked with a lot of different types of people, and I try not to be the Black guy and everything is a Black thing. I try and just focus on the business. And sometimes it is a Black thing, but I don't think it's always a Black thing. I think that's kind of a chip. It's well, I guess it's to be discussed. You know how much detriment that is on what we do or what industry you're in. But what I found is most guys just want the numbers. Man, they look. I need you to push the needle. Are you gonna push the needle or not? Can you still do your job? And that's always worked in my favor. But I'm in sales, so it's very, very numbers driven. And that's just kind of how it's always worked on any team that I built. Dude, I know you got to drop the kids off, but you're going to make your numbers. You know what I mean? I need you to do this. Are you going to be able to do it? If not, you're just not a good fit, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's definitely, and it kind of goes back to what Alex was saying. Communication is key, because as long as you're communicating what your intent is, then when the question arises, then hopefully it's an easier conversation. And it's also understanding your job responsibilities as well, and your what you're expected in your job responsibilities. And so for myself, I know that if I have to drive to Pismo, it's probably, which is about 2.5 hours from where I reside at.
Oh, wow.
Those are probably days that I'm not going to be dropping my daughter off, only because planning purposes, it's going to be responsible for me to be like, let me leave the house at about 6 o'clock, so I get to Pismo about 8:30. I knock out my inspections, do what I need to go do, and then I'm able to get back home at a decent time to where, hey, at least I'm able to pick her up from school. And it's being able to communicate that, and to understand that in that aspect. So I think communication does go a long way, as well as understanding your responsibility and kind of taking the initiative to be like, I don't really need nobody to tell me this. I'm just going to do it and make sure that, like you say, I'm still pushing numbers. I'm still knocking out my responsibilities, and still able to fulfill the needs that my family need me to fill as well.
The way I always tell just my higher ups is, if I'm happy at home, and I always tell them this: if my wife is happy and my kids are happy, I'll be more productive. But if I wake up and my wife's got a funny face, or I come home and my wife's got a funny face, that funny face carries with me, and then it's going to go down to my team. And then, and now I have to figure out how to counterbalance that, when it's easier for me to say, hey, babe, don't worry, I'll drop the kids off. That, hey, babe, I'll drop the kids off, goes a long way. And when the higher ups can understand that, you know what I mean? It all just trickles down. It all just trickles down, because my smile is more genuine. The way I walk in the door is more genuine. I'm more, hey, smiles. You know what I mean? When I walk in the door, and a little less disgruntled on the bad days.
I 100% agree. 100% agree. So the next question that I have is, how does the group feel about micromanaging? Have you ever had an instance or a case where you have been micromanaged, or have you had a case or instance where you might have felt you were micromanaged a situation in a professional setting? And how did you handle those situations?
I remember the first day of the last corporate gig I had. The workday is scheduled from 9 to 6. Okay. I live in North Carolina. It was 5:57, no joke. I'm packing myself up, and the CEO company's like, "Hey, what's going on? What are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, it's 5:57. We're about to wrap up." It's like, "Well, day's not over yet." And right away, I was like, "Oh no, I've made a terrible mistake." And I wound up being in that job for close to 2 years, and COVID happened, and I made my graceful transition out, and working on building my business, my coaching practice. But that was one of those moments of like, oh God, what have I done? Like, are we really about to, like, it's 3 minutes. And yes, I get it. I'm all about commitment, being your word, honoring that. And what I saw for myself was like, oh, I got to get out of here. And that was the first immediate thought, like the pit of my stomach driving home. I was like, oh, this is stupid. What have I done? But I stayed in the job for a while. But the whole time I was thinking, like, I got to get my exit out. And I think that obviously I did the best I could while I was there. But when you don't buy in fully, right? If I'm not, and I guess it's different times, right? The team loyalty is not necessarily a thing of what it used to be, for better or for worse. But it's also on both sides. If you want me to be a loyal employee, you want me to do my best and work with me on a human level. I'm not a machine. We're not robots. Even though this education system, work system is designed to create us that way. But that micromanagement, and it showed up in different things too, of like, hey, you know what, let's clean up this email here and let's fix grammar there. And like sometimes I could take it as like, all right, you know, they're looking out for you to help me out, but others is like, that's not how I talk. That's not how I speak. That's not how I would present this to a client. So what are you looking for? Are you trying to whitewash it? Are you trying to mold me into something that I'm not? That's just, it's not comfortable. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Anyone else want to pitch in or talk about micromanaging situation? For myself, well, I have a lot of different experiences. So in the military, I had this senior chief who, um, he ate, sleep, and breathed the Navy. He was single, and at the time, I was single also. But he was the type of person that in the military they say mission first, mission first, mission first. And so he took that to heart. And so we are currently in port at the time, and we have maybe I'm the supervisor. I'm kind of the leading supervisor, and I have a team of maybe 7 or 8 guys. And so at this time, we're in port, and usually when you're in port, it's usually the chill time. You know, it's usually the time for you to get back into your family life. And, you know, at that time, we're usually at duty section. So you have duty maybe every once a week or so. The workload is a little bit lighter because you're not pumping out as much work as you would be on a deployment, especially being aviation rate. Because short side, we really aren't doing anything except maintenance. And so his take was radical, right? And he was an African American, so it was just radical to me sometimes. And so I remember this one instance in one case. I had a sailor, and his wife was having a baby, his first kid, first kids, right? And they happened to be twins. And so she's already been, you know, we missed the first part of her pregnancy, obviously, because we were on deployment. So he gets the call, and he's like, the wife was like, hey, you know, I'm going to the hospital, meet me there. So you know, me as supervisor, I'm like, yeah, bro, like, well, you know, we'll get you out of here, cool, no worries. I go to the supervisor, I'm like, hey, Norman's wife just called, pretty much letting us know that she's probably about to go into labor. I'm gonna let him go. And he's like, is the work done? Is the inspections is and now, and he goes on this list of tangents of requirements, and I'm like, what? And I'm like, well, I was like, so are we gonna let him go or are we not? And he's like, oh, I just want to know if the work's done. If he cut this off, and who's on, and he just asked a question, and I'm like, so I literally cut them off of the situation. I said, hey, you know, I said I was like, I'm the supervisor, right? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, you asked me to lead these guys and make sure everything's squared away and we're okay and things like that. And he's like, yeah. And I said, well, if you don't let him go to see that the birth of his kids, I said, I'm not gonna work for you anymore. I said, I'm gonna ask for transfer out of this division, and I'm going to make sure that, you know, we're not in contact, because you're really asking questions that should not even pertain to this guy and his wife having their first child. And it kind of took him aback, and he's looking at me, and he's just like, and I'm like, I can't understand we're even having this conversation. And so afterwards, you know, he's like, all right, just let him go, it's fine, it's fine. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I go back, I let him know, I was like, hey, go ahead and go, you know, because you know, he's like literally stressing about if he's gonna be able to go and meet his wife for the birth. So he ends up going and things like that. But I really had to go back and have a heart to heart with the senior chief, and I had to let him know. And I don't know if it came from past, supervisor that may have worked for and things like that, but it really had to come to a hard heart. And I say, if this thing is gonna work, you're gonna have to trust me and understand that when I say the work is gonna get handled, the work is gonna get handled. And when I say, I come to you with a question, I'm more so not looking for a yes or a no. I'm more so looking for your support, and so that was more of a situation in the military to where it was really like blowing my mind. And I think that was the time and when I realized that I like you Alex, it was my slow quitting. And I was like, I don't know if the military is really for me, maybe because I care too much, and I have a different way of looking at the mission and the vision. But I think that was one turning point for me when I realized I think I'm really not gonna make the military a career. Yeah, that was the worst micromanaging that I have ever experienced. I think I get it lightly now in my day-to-day things out here, but now I find that in this job, I find it to be a little bit more racial, because it kind of goes back to the emailing and you were talking about. So when I first started this job, it's very technical. So you need email and things like that. And when we during training, and he's like, okay, go ahead and type this in there, and he's like, oh wow, you type really fast. And I'm like, yeah. And I just laughed it off. And then it goes to, okay, we're gonna have to teach you how to write reports. It might take you a little bit longer to get it and understand it, but hey, just know that I'm helping you through it, and we're gonna be good. I get the report writing, so I started writing reports in almost 3 months. Like it's nothing to me. My Excel, Microsoft things, whatever. And his comment is like, "Oh wow, like you're really good at writing the reports." Yeah, like isn't this what you hired me for? Like when you interviewed me and you said I was a fit for the job, like this is where we agreed on, right? And did you hire me because you think that I wasn't going to be able to meet all these marks, or are you surprised that I'm excelling way past your other counterparts that you had to teach, and I'm doing way better than what you thought that I was capable of doing? And in that aspect, I find right, yes, he speaks so well, or you talk intelligent, you talk really intelligent, things like that. And so those were really off-putting for me. And I think that was my moment, and when I was like, I think I'm really, this is not going to be a very long tenure here. Anybody else had any experiences with micromanaging that they might want to share? I see William, you just hopped on a call. We're just talking about some of the micromanaging situations we might have faced in the workplace and professional setting. If you want to share, go ahead.
Okay, okay. Good afternoon. Sorry about my tardiness. Handling some business on this end. Right now, on the top of my head, I know I have some stories, but I just don't have the right one right now. So I'm just pass the baton back to you, Mr. Bailey.
Thank you, thank you. I mean, our first question, if you want to kind of piggyback on that one, is some of the pet peeves that you might have faced in the Thank you, Alex. I appreciate the time. Some of the pet peeves that you might have faced or that you have when you're facing in a professional setting. If something comes to mind, then go ahead and unmute and voice your opinion. If not, then I'll go ahead and move to the.
You can go ahead, my brother.
So the next thing that I kind of wanted to, kind of discuss with you guys is, so how do you find yourself? I want to say, because we have talked about the interviewing process and things like that, and that's something that we're going to go into this month in the PD group. So how do you prepare yourself for interviews when the time is present and when you're getting ready to step into maybe a new position? Any volunteers? Mickey, I know you had a few you've been in a few industries, so I'm glad you unmuted. How have you prepared for the different various industries in which you have found yourself in?
So just as I've been in sales for almost 15 years, a little over almost 15 years. But I went to school for engineering. So I got a degree in electrical engineering and had a goal to be in technical sales. And I think more of the journey in interviews for me is being able to express who I am and what I need to be successful. So being able to be in a few different industries has allowed me to work in big groups, small groups, and also experience different types of people, different managers, guys that are more freelance, guys that have, you know, everything handed to them and then they hand it to the team. Everything, guys that want to go over numbers every day, every week, you know, get your goals and your targets. Experienced players that aren't afraid. Most guys are afraid to. I worked for a company and a guy told me, hey, I know you're new and there's only one guy like me in this company and I have no plans on ever leaving. That guy looked like us. So that was a really tough moment for me. So what I've learned is one, to make a better me. Some advice that was given to me, always be making a better me. Two, always be open and be available. Because if you are in one situation and a guy wants you bad enough, he'll give you everything you need and more because your success, he wants to incorporate that to where you are, where he is. And he may value you more than somebody else, and your loyalty will stop you from getting to the next level or whatever that is, whatever your goal is. Two, I had a financial goal that I wanted to hit in the beginning, and a certain way and a perception that I wanted to be, something that I wanted to be, and things change when you start getting a wife and a family. So those things don't mean as much to me anymore. So now when I go on an interview, I interview more. What type of company are you? What are your values? What does a day in the life look like in the job in whatever that I'm going to be doing? I ask those questions. Do you mind if I do a ride along? Or do you mind if I shadow someone? Do you mind if I come? You know what I mean? Like something. So the more information I gain, then the more I know how it'll fit with who I am, and what type of energy I'm going to be bringing home. Do I have to go? Do all the guys go to happy hour after work? We had a guy overdose on cocaine. Dude, it's when it starts going up, guys do different things, and that ain't me. You know what I mean? And I love Little League baseball. I coach sports. I give back to my community. I love being Black unapologetically. So if you're gonna have a problem with you know what I mean? Like, it's okay. I'm okay with that. I grew up in the South. People are people. You know what I mean? You grew up the way you grew up. I grew up the way I grew up. Business is green. So if we all moving in the same path, then we'll respect each other in that way. And so I'm okay with being upfront with that, because what I found is a lot of people respect when you know who you are, when you know what you need to be successful and what you bring to the table. And that's always been respected because I'm genuine. I move in integrity. I never break a relationship. I've never had a bad breakup. Never. And I build relationships, and that's really what I think this all boils down to is building relationship, being positive, And when you can trust a guy, they always say a lot of business is done on the golf course. But why? If you can find out if a guy cheats or not. If he's gonna, you know what I mean? Was that 5 shots or 10 shots? So I'm trying to learn how to play golf. If anybody plays golf, I'm open. That's what's
Hey,
next on.
me too, man. I was like, man, golf seems like it's a real chill sport. I'm gonna have to get through it. But you electrical engineer, so we're gonna have to talk offline because I'm in construction. So I'm looking to really build my team out in that aspect.
I
And
just
so we're gonna have to. What's up?
I'm literally just finished walking the site, still sweating. So
Yeah, that's what I just got out of. I'm trying to get into hemp construction and modular building, not in the factory setting. So it's I'm trying to keep us in the house. I ain't trying to be out there, I'm trying to keep us in the house. We only got to be out there when the sun is coming up, and connect a few things, and then we bounce. But cool. I appreciate your feedback. I definitely appreciate your feedback. I have found that it's definitely when I have left jobs, it's gave me a little bit of gratitude when they say, "Oh man, you really gonna leave us?
right.
Come on, man, come on." And it's just like, hey, I gave you warnings, I gave you signs. For example, when I worked at Tough Shed, I knew I applied to be a prefabricator, which was cool. I knew the job I applied for because I knew I needed to learn some of the carpenter characteristics and some of the things ins and outs that we need to do it. But I also knew that I was too talented to stay back there. And so when you see my work ethic move a certain way, and even the supervisors move, I worked at Tough Shed for, I want to say, 2 months before they moved me to a station that usually they don't put people on that station for about a year or so, just because you need to know a little bit more math. You need to know, you need to come to work a little bit more early, things like that. Not many people are able to check those boxes. So I moved to doors, cool. I talked to the supervisor. I'm like, hey, I'm really looking to excel beyond. I said, I tell him my dreams, my aspiration. I said, when I came here, I went to school for construction management, so I'm trying to get into a position, more construction manager position. And I was like, so I've been looking at some of the jobs that you guys offer in the company. I've spit off a few, and he's like, okay, cool, cool, cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But 2 months go by, 3 months go by, nothing's shaking.
Yeah.
So, but everybody else, they're starting to move people around in the factory, and yeah, hey, we're gonna get people to do new positions. So I'm like, okay, you either think I'm a joke or you think I'm dumb, and I'm neither. So I really had to make some moves, and I had to do two things. I had to go for a new. I had to silent quit on them, and silent quitting, I went and found another job. I went and
Mm-hmm.
I went and found another job that was going to give me the experience that I need, because I'm thinking 10 years down the road. I'm thinking like, okay, what do I need? What kind of experience do I need to get to lead a construction site successfully? And that's my mindset. And I'm like, okay, I need more manager position. Not only do I need more construction manager position or project manager position, I need that experience for when I go to get my contractor's license. So when I go and I'm like, hey, here's my 2 weeks notice, everybody's like, what? 2 weeks notice? Like, say, yeah, in my 2 weeks notice, I'll see you when I see you, and you got me for 2 weeks. And boy, they was like, you really just gonna leave us like that? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I have presented y'all with opportunities to be able to excel me in ways, and even offer my knowledge. And I tried to, open up different programs that's gonna bring more people into the company, but you're not listening. So now it's time for me to go somewhere else where my value is a little bit more value, is understood. And so, I had to leave that job in a different light. But with that saying, though, it's about knowing your value and knowing your worth when it comes to these situations and jobs also. But let's see where we at time. So yeah, it's really, I mean, go ahead.
I think just as you grow in whatever you're doing, I think just kind of learning what makes you tick pushes you a little harder, and then as you start being able to touch what makes you tick more and more, you start to figure out like, dang, I'm more productive when, man, I'm more happy when, man, my emotions are more in check when. And so it's like, or, getting the company plaque doesn't mean as much to me. I'd rather have more of my time back, or, getting this recognition. And like for me in the beginning, recognition was so key. Like I wanted to be out front. I was chasing. I wanted to be top guy. I wanted to move up quickly. And man, then what I found out is, man, what makes everybody happy doesn't make me happy. And being okay with that was a challenge in the beginning. Oh, it was a challenge probably in the last 5 years because some of that recognition came with bonuses and different things and different structures. But I always tell people, like, the more you make, the more hours it requires. And so balance is very, very means a lot to me. Balance, and what I found, like education, training, being intentional. And some of the other groups, reading, just some things that I didn't find as much value in the beginning. I'm finding a lot more value in now because, like, it's as I grow, and that's why I love this group so much, because you see guys from different walks kind of figuring it out, and some guys that already have it figured out, and still trying to, see what that next thing is. And I think it's an ongoing, growing, like pruning thing, like you cutting some things off. And I got 3 kids, man. I got 3 kids, and time time is very valuable in my house. Very valuable. And because my kids are competitive athletes, and they're developing their own competitiveness for sports and for life and grades and school, and I want to be there for that. And I've watched my dad sacrifice, and they work 2 jobs or 3 jobs. Or my dad, I come from military background. My dad was in the military, in the Army. My sister's in the Air Force now over in Hawaii. My brother was in the Air Force. My brother-in-law's in the Air Force. So like we got a lot of military in my house. And so work is something that we do, but the emotion and love and touch is something that we can be better at. And so just kind of stepping back and seeing how I need and want to be better, being intentional, trying to do that. And hard looks in the mirror are hard looks in the mirror. And I think as Black guys, that's something we can learn from each other is, man, we can pull each other up in all facets of being a Black man. And if one guy has it figured out, dude, share the love, because I can use that in my house. You know what I mean? I can use how to relax, how to calm down, how not to get mad, how to prepare for those interviews, how to give me something that makes me confident. I'm gonna tell you what's crazy. What used to make me confident in interviews? Wearing my class ring. Something so small meant so much to me. One gaze down at it reminded me how hard I worked for my degree, and I bust my butt for it. Crazy.
It's
So
the
that's
small
me, man.
things,
I know I'm
though.
off on a tangent a little bit, man. I'm just trying to grow and be better. That's what I
No,
try
I
to do.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. It's the small things though, and it's funny that you think that, because the military kind of program you to not be emotionally connected. Um, Whether that's because you're away so much, or your job come first. So even in a boot camp and things like that, they program you to think that way. So it's really hard, because I was in the military for 9 years, and so it's really hard to kind of step out of that and
Right.
step back into you know, being a father or being in caring mode or being that
Right.
supportive partner that your wife may needs or your partner may needs, because you're so gone, you're gone for so long. And I had to get out of the military because I realized it was borderline slavery, it felt like.
Mm.
Because I'm like, I'm gone all the time. Like, I was in the military for 9 years, and you look at my sea service time, and I was gone 7.5 years out to sea. And I'm like, I
Wow.
was never home. But the rotation was supposed to be you go out 6 and you stay in one
Right.
year. I never did that. It was we going out 6, 8 months, come back, we in for 3 or 4 months. Oh yeah, deployment coming. It's gonna come early. What? Deployment early? I just got used to being at home. And like when I was younger, it didn't bother me. But once
Right.
I got a fiance or
Yeah.
once I got my family, I'm like, oh man, y'all bugging. Like I ain't even seen my I ain't even seen my daughter been born or not, so these things that I'm like, oh man, like that really matter, I'm like, okay, this ain't for me. This is not for me. So I had to really, come to grips that in the military and say, I think it's time for me to really, really be out.
And that's a
Because
hard thing to do. It's a hard choice to make because of the way we are programmed. We're
yep.
programmed that man go work hard so he can provide family,
Hmm.
right? And what I've learned, I've been living in South Florida for the past 12 or 13 years. And man, the great thing about South Florida is you get to see every culture and the way and what they bring to the table. What
Mm.
I've learned from South Florida is people from Venezuela, Colombia, DR, Puerto Rico, wherever they're
Hmm.
coming from, they bring something to Haiti. They bring something different, and it's a mentality of the way they attack the American economy. And the way they
Mm.
do a lot of things is keeping multiple resources in house. That's one. So
Mm.
when they open business, their family is going to work for the business. They're going to support the business. And when the business has grown so much that it's time to expand, guess where the expansion goes to? Another family member, right?
That part. Hmm.
Another family member. Well, do you think that family member can grow and build that business? Yes, because they've supported and grown business one, i.e., nail shop,
Hmm.
i.e., nail shops, i.e., liquor stores, i.e.,
Yep.
regular everyday convenience stores. Where how do they grow, build, and expand? Well, that's how they do it. They support each other and they give each
Mm.
other the game and they say, hey, look, we saved up and built this, go get your own and do the same thing, rinse and repeat.
Right.
So my
Yes, that part.
man, that's something we have to like, there's enough pie for everybody to eat. There's plenty of pie for everybody to eat, but you gotta share, rinse, and repeat. And I think that's what I've learned in my little years is that man, guys are afraid for another guy to be more successful, quote unquote, than them. When really
Mm-hmm.
your biggest success and your biggest brag should be, hey man, me and Elliot chopped it up on the line. Man, Elliot went and did this because I dropped a nugget. Mickey went and did this because he dropped a nugget. I'm so proud of him. You would be my
Yep.
brag.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that when I had kids,
That's
man. My boys asked me,
that's the
hey,
truth.
that's the truth.
Go
It's
ahead.
like ask yourself. You said you got a daughter, right?
Yeah, and I got 3 kids also. So I got
So you got
2 daughters
so
and a son.
do you go to the barber shop?
No, I cut my in COVID. I learned how to cut hair, so I cut my son's hair now. But we used to.
Okay. So imagine this. I always give the barbershop talk because that's what it's an easy black relate. I asked my
Mm-hmm.
son, I said, when I go to the barbershop, what do you think I would like to brag more on? My bank account, my wallet, how successful I am at my job, or that my son made his first 3-pointer in the game. He says, Dad, the money, easy. Duh. I
Mm.
mean, is that don't even. I said, no way, man. Guys in the barbershop brag about how well their kids are. My son just graduated from college. He doing blah, blah, blah. My
Mm-hmm.
energy my focus comes out of me and into you. I have to figure out how to balance that out because I still gotta, twerk that. But that's where I'm looking for guys that are seasoned. You know what I'm saying? Like, give me the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, give me the juice. Like, I'm okay asking questions and learning. And that's what I mean about always be getting better. I don't always just mean it in the in the work world. Man, I want to be
Yeah,
better as a man because I just feel like that into the atmosphere will always give dividends back.
for sure. Have you read the book Miseducation of a Negro?
I haven't. I haven't. I mean, these
Oh.
guys, I forgot the other group. I think it's the entrepreneur group. They're dropping all the books.
Yeah, no, it's either that group or the PD group, but I just started reading that book and it is mind blowing. It's mind blowing because it literally talks about the root of why exactly what you say, the Black community don't want the other to win. And it goes all the way back to the education of us. It goes all the way to our education system and how we're taught and the things that we're taught. And I was reading it to my wife. I just read the first chapter and I'm like, it's crazy because the book was written in 1933. But how is it that I'm reading it in 2024 and everything you say is so relevant? So
Wow.
relevant. It's
Wow.
so relevant to the point that it goes and it talks about, just what you say is, how is it that, the Black brothers don't want to go back to their communities and uplift them. And in the first chapter, it talks about and it tells you, well, you have your education from elementary school all the way to college has been taught that you are meant to try to survive in the Americanized or Europeanized world. And even if you are supposed to survive in this world, you still are going to be subordinate to the white counterpart.
Right.
And then it goes into tell you that even after you finish your education, then your teachers and everyone around you then tell you, hey, go back to the community, go back and do something and change in the community. But it goes to say, how is an educated Black person supposed to go back into a community that you have disconnected them from for 12 plus years? You ain't educated us on how to be successful in our communities. You ain't educated on us and how to form communities within the Black communities. You have taught us that this whole time that you're going to try to excel to be like you were just talking about, the token Black person in an all white community
Right.
society. And if there's already one of those, we can't have no more, y'all. You're going to have to go somewhere else.
And so I'll give you
And so go ahead.
so I'll also add to that is the other piece is I'll tell you where I'm torn. Okay, so I've been living in South. I'm from Atlanta. Just a little more about me. I'm from Atlanta, right? But I
Okay.
moved to Florida, and that's where I really got a ton of diversity. I went to an HBCU, went to an all Black school, and I went to an all Black high school. And bro, I am so blackety black, it's black, you know.
Right.
And but I've also grown up around um far left Black to far right. I've seen the guy in the gutter and the doctor and the shirt and tie guy, you know what I mean? Like that works down in Congress or something. You know what I mean? Like I've seen the range of Black men and what could be. Okay, so the challenge, I'm first one in my family to go to college and graduate. But the challenge is we're taught education is the key to success. But what education is the key to success? Okay, so
Right.
then everything is tied to education. So when you go buy a house, what do you look for as a parent, as a dad? You look for good schools, right? You look for good schools. Where are the good schools? They're in the white
In the white
neighborhoods.
neighborhoods.
Right.
So now the white neighborhoods are getting. So I had a friend when I moved back to Atlanta. He said, "Dude, you can either pay taxes or you can pay a tutor." So I'm like, "Dude, what do you mean?" He's like, "You want the good schools? You got to move where they're at." And I said, "Dude, I moved because I want to impact my community, and I can."
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that I can. I'll figure it out. But the challenge is when we come pull out, then we still move away. We don't come back or grab one or grab two. And so what I was going to try and introduce is, dude, we got to be able to mentor somebody and
Mm-hmm.
coach sports, because that's just kind of how I'm able to. I feel like I'm able to give back and mold some of these kids that look like me and give them, inspire them. And the more we can
Right.
inspire and tell our stories, the more the kids will believe that football and basketball and like these aren't the only ways out and the only ways to be successful. I picked an engineer because I thought I was going to learn how to install stereos in cars. Dude,
Mm.
I didn't have a clue. I'm the first one to go to
Of the
school.
world you was open up.
I had
Yeah.
no. My dad said, "You're either going to the military, you go get a job, or you go figure out college." I said, "I'm not
Mm.
going to the military because I see what you guys went through." And it's crazy. I still went for
Right.
Navy. I still went for Navy ROTC.
Who
In
y'all
college,
Navy? I was in the Navy.
I did the ROTC program. Where you go for 4 years, they pay for your school, then you go.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't work out. Yeah, this guy got on me a year, first day. Gunnery sergeant. Never forget him. It was tough. But yeah, man, it's how do we change? Like, so much is valued in education, but like, dude, when we're striving to be the most educated, are we striving to be with white people, or
We are.
like that? You know what I mean? Are we trying to meet whatever
Mm-hmm.
their mark is to be? Nas said, "Inclusion is a hell of a drug." And that's the challenge we
Mm.
have, is trying to be included. And
Yep.
those are the thoughts that I've been battling with. I love it, man. I'm gonna scoop this book up on audio. What do you say? Text, what is it?
The miseducation of a Negro. I'll find you in the group chat and I'll send it to you.
Send it
I
to me.
just ordered it off of thrift books for about $7.
Yeah,
And man, I tell you, it's just the first chapter, and it's crazy how you say it, because it says it one quote, he says the most successful Negroes aren't educated. And
dude. When I dude,
it hit me hard, bro. It hit me hard, because you think about the entertainers, you think about all these people that get the carrot gets dangled in front of you, and I'm just like,
dude,
bro, if you're not speaking facts, and this is in 1933, I don't know what's the truth.
man. Did you hear about the guy in Atlanta with the barbershop?
Mm-mm.
Dude, this dude, he's all over online now. He had a barbershop, and so
Mm-hmm.
the election and all that stuff is kind of going on now, and with Donald Trump and Joe Biden in the
Right,
debate or
right.
whatever. And so the debate was here, and so they getting this
Mm-hmm.
guy's they had a black round table meeting in his barbershop, and
Mm-hmm.
but they did a contract with him. He got paid $4,000 for 4 hours, but he says that they didn't talk about black small business at all. But
Wow.
so they put in the contract. They're like, "Dude, here's the contract," but it's a big thing right now, because it's like, man, how you are positioning yourself, because nobody's going to his barbershop because it was a Republican. It was, Ben Carson was there. It's like, dude,
Mm.
some of the most, like, beyond politics, dude, you got some of the most powerful people in your barbershop right now. How can you leverage the power that you have in your barbershop? It's
Mm.
a mindset and a mind frame. Dude, how can you say, "Look, you come to my barbershop, but I need you to do X, Y, and Z." And the power is the
Mm-hmm.
one that I've learned that we don't um mm,
we don't think about how to use, we only think about it so far on how to use it. I met a guy, so when I was working in construction in South Florida, I used to do a lot of construction for small businesses and a lot of chain restaurants and just a lot of business. So I get to meet a lot of people that pull a lot of strings. And so I meet one
Right.
guy. He said, look, I have a lot of Republicans in South Florida. And he says, man, look, black people, he says, a Jewish guy, black people want to be rich. Rich people want to be wealthy. Wealthy people want power. They want to be able to move the pieces on the chessboard so that they can influence the wealthy and the rich. And man, that struck a chord with me. What are we striving for as black people? What's our end goal? Like, what do we want to be better? And figure out how we can leverage our power together to be able to accomplish those goals. So I don't know, man. I'll have a lot of thoughts now that I'm home and I see the struggle that's here. And what city you in?
I'm in Fresno, California. So Central
California.
Valley, California.
We had a lot of people from California moving to South Florida. They were my biggest customers. California and New York. I heard the struggle real out that way too.
It's real. The struggle is real everywhere, and so that's like, you know, it's just like you say, we have to stop running from it and start to band together and start to breathe life back into our communities. You know, that's the only way that we're going to survive. And stop letting the counterparts spread us thin and spread us out. You know, stop letting the counterparts keep our black men out of the homes. You know, stop giving them reasons. You know, to say and do what they want, you know, and it just comes with accountability. It comes with assuming the responsibility and understanding, you know, the role that you play, and how important, you know, just being a productive father figure can be and how much it can change a household, you know. We're not telling you to go out and make $1 million, but we telling you to show up and be present. You know, and just doing those two things, showing up and being present, is going to change the generation behind you. And you change the generation behind you, then they change, you know, then they say, I'm not going to leave my wife because my dad was there every day. And they fought, but he was there. He was present. He showed up to my games, you know, whatever. But so I'm going to be there. I'm not going to run. I'm not going to go cheat on my girl. I'm not going to go find it somewhere else. I'm gonna make it work here because that's the example that I've seen. So, but we gonna go ahead and close it up. I appreciate the talk. Like I said, I'll shoot you that book in the group message. And again, I appreciate the talk and meeting you. And join us next week on we're gonna talk more about the interviewing process and things like that, and how to, you know, get ready for that process. So you definitely got a lot of knowledge in that aspect. So I hope you join us.
All good, man. Hey, it's been a pleasure, Elliot, man. Nice to meet you, brother.
You as well. Likewise. God bless.
Yes, sir.